Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Every week here at Digital Trends on Fridays, we have a segment called Tech Briefs. We're going a little bit early today, but a little bit earlier in the week, but still plenty to talk about, and that's what we're going to be doing right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Ken Young from Flipboard. Hello, Ken.
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Doing well. As always, lots to talk about, and privacy seems to be a prevalent issue that we bring up. How our data is utilized, how companies are monetizing that, and Facebook has to be one of the number one companies as far as taking our data and selling it. I mean, they have done a pretty good job of doing that, and they've gotten a lot of slack about that. And now we get this word that they're going to be releasing this way to kind of control how your data is being used in a way. It's not really the greatest solution, I don't think, but I wanted you to maybe, if you can fill everybody in just a little bit about what this off Facebook activity deletion app is.
So basically, let's start off by saying it starts with two words: Cambridge Analytica. That happened like more than a year ago, and that got everybody all in an uproar about what what developers are able to do with Facebook data. And people were saying, "Look, Facebook, you're not protecting the information I put into your social network. We expect you to do more." And Mark Zuckerberg at the company's F8 developer conference last year, or about more than a year ago, said, look, we're going to come out with this tool that's called Clear History. Everyone's like, okay, great. This is a good idea. But there was no timeline exactly for when it was supposed to be released. Now, again, fast forward more than a year later, delays happen. Now, reportedly, that's for technical reasons that there was a delay, but who knows? But right now, what they're testing out, what was announced this week, is this feature that's called Off Facebook Activity. It doesn't have the same ring as Clear History, but it does what it supposedly says. Now, this is being tested in 3 countries, not in the United States. I believe it's Korea, Spain, and Ireland. I'm not entirely 100% sure, but those are the 3 countries and before it gets rolled out to the wider audience. Now, what it promises to do, or what Facebook claims it's going to do, is going to allow you to disconnect your data from your own identity. So Facebook won't be able to track the data coming from third-party websites, the websites that you visit, such as like coming from Amazon or some retailer or anything else like that. Now, the word disconnect is very telling because it's not deleting any of the information. Yeah. So, and also Facebook is getting that information too. It's just not going to be able to know that, the fact that I look for drones or that bike or, that the meal recipe is associated specifically to myself.
Yeah, it just won't be identified to you.
It's very sketchy.
Yeah, and it does. It seems like it's just a little bit of we're going to throw this out there. And yeah, see, look, we took care of it. Everybody can go control your own data right now. But there's still so much more to that they're not talking about. And I get it because that's their lifeline. That's how they make their money, is off of that data. But yeah, I think with Facebook, until there's something really big that they do, they've just built up so much mistrust that it's going to be hard to really take anything without a grain of salt.
I mean, to Facebook's credit, they said, look, once we roll out this feature, there's a potential that their financial performance could take some sort of a hit. Now, I think, okay, great. I mean, sure, they're recognizing that privacy is paramount. Now, realistically, though, I mean, look at what happened with the $5 billion fine. They're like, okay, great. They took the hit, slap on the wrist, and their stock just went up immediately right after. So they were expecting that, and everything's all fine and good at Facebook. Now, this could be, this could certainly play out well for Facebook and for consumers and their users. People want to get rid of, want to stop Facebook from tracking their data, their history. So who knows how this could happen? But as you said, Facebook has gotten a lot of slack about their privacy, and actions speak louder than words. And so them simply saying, look, we're going to do this, but it's almost in a half-assed type of approach. Who knows if that's actually going to solve anything and actually convince Facebook that privacy is the real way to go. And what's telling is that, look, again, the data is not going to be associated with you. It's not going to be deleted either.
Yeah.
And I believe reports say that Facebook saying, look, we are not able to delete it just because it's just too time intensive. And for a company that's worth like so much money and such a massive company, they should be able to do that in an expedited fashion. And once you sign up for this off Facebook activity, it takes 48 hours before they're actually going to stop tracking that data. So in between that 48-hour window, your information could still be tracked.
Well, and we'll have to see where it all ends up, but I guess any step is a good step as far as doing something, but it definitely doesn't feel like it's too far when it comes down to that. So you can check out more about that at Digital Trends and Flipboard. Moving on to our next subject, another big news this week having to do with Apple TV. And you know, the TV streaming wars are huge. We know that Disney's going to be coming out with theirs. We've got HBO Max coming up, but Apple TV Plus is still going to be a huge factor in the market, and we found out some more details, at least as far as from some leaks. It sounds like it's going to be $9.99 per month, so coming in right around that base Netflix range, like the very basic Netflix package. We did find out that they're going to be supposedly launching in November, which to me is a bold move to go up right against Disney Plus. Disney Plus launching mid-November, and that's going to be a behemoth in its own right. I mean, so much content that they're going to be coming out with, and Apple TV Plus still feels like they're a little bit late to the game, or at least they have been. They've got a lot of big stars on board. They've invested some money in it, but to go up against Disney Plus at this time tells me a couple of things. One, they must have some real confidence in their shows that they're going to be putting out, that they're going to be enough of a draw. But also, the way it's going to work is, I guess you're going to get a month of a free trial. I think they're banking on their number of platforms that it's just going to show up if you have an Apple device. This is my thought. It's just going to show up. They'll instantly be on 1 billion devices, and then even if you get 10% of those people to continue on, it's a huge success.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at what Disney has versus and Netflix has, and also now with Apple. Like, the big difference is the distribution, right? Disney has massive reach with not only with ABC, ESPN, with all their traditional cable, but they have this massive catalog, right? Marvel and everything else, and now with Hulu and Fox, like, this is like a giant wallet that they can just throw onto the table and say, look, whatever. What's your price? You can't compete against this. We have more money than anybody else in the world. Netflix has been in the game much longer than a lot of people, so they have that incumbency. Now Hulu as well is now owned by Disney, so they have that.
Yeah, they've
advantage.
got that too.
Apple's coming into this space where it's like, look, we're fresh off. We're new to the game. But you know what we have? We have the reach. Again, as you said, Greg, there's 1 billion Apple devices out there, not only with iPhones, but iPads and MacBooks and Apple TVs and, whatever else is going to be out there. I mean, could you see this in Apple CarPlay supported vehicles, the Apple TV Plus?
Right.
Very likely. I mean, who knows what Apple wants to do, but with enough money in the bank. This is Apple we're talking about. They have a lot of money. Every quarter, they have a lot of money that they announce. Like, I believe, like tens of billions of dollars right there. So imagine taking that and just like spending it on original content. And I mean, they've already have a huge lineup. Not what we just saw was the morning show where they're spending $15 billion. Like more than a Game of Thrones episode. I mean,
right.
Hopefully there's dragons. Hopefully there's a better ending than the series finale of Game of Thrones.
There you go.
But who knows, right?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Where that goes, because they do have big stars behind it. They do have, they're spending money on content. They want to go after Academy Awards, but going head to head with Disney, I am really looking forward to seeing how that all shakes out in November. And that's just the Apple TV Plus news. Really quick, like 60 seconds here. We've got also this week Gamescom, which happened. It was over in Germany, Cologne, Germany. We saw some news. You saw Sony buying up a smaller, smaller to them, Insomniac, who makes the Spider-Man video game, a very successful video game developer. And you're seeing kind of some consolidation in that world too, as far as the gaming wars.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is very similar to what we just talked about. Like, now it's Google. Google had unveiled had their latest Stadia Connect, where they didn't talk about their hardware or their service. They talked about the originals that they had there. And you're right, like Sony's out. Sony didn't really have a presence, but they did make that purchase of Insomniac Games. Nintendo and Microsoft had unveiled their stuff as well. So this is basically a tit for tat. Like, who's coming out of the gate strong with their titles. It's an arms race to see who has the biggest catalog or the best catalog that will attract users. And the video game streaming battles are going to be very, very interesting. I mean, this could basically be like Fortnite on a more meta level. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it'll be very interesting to watch. Now with CES coming down the pipe, like, what are they going to be announcing, and so on and so forth as the year progresses in 2020. Once these services start to launch, I mean, look, Apple just announced Arcade. What the leaks for Apple Arcade was $4.99 supposedly. So this is going to be a really interesting battle for people's attention.
Yeah, we'll have to see where it all ends up, but that's why you follow along at Digital Trends and Flipboard, to stay on top of all that. And once again, that's Tech Briefs. Ken, thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you next week. Don't forget to hit subscribe to our podcast as well. That's where you're going to get some really good information. All right, Ken, thanks a lot.
No problem.